It's been 2 weeks of silence on the Suitcase and Chardonnay podcast, and with good reason. Whilst exploring the beauty of South Africa for the best part of July, I've been collecting some truly inspiring and exciting stories and content to share with you in the upcoming weeks. Together with my family, we started in the heart of the Karoo and made our way down to the coast, travelling along the garden route all the way to Glentana and back to Pretoria. You can imagine, with 2 kids in tow, that it was quite the journey, and one that not only brought many stories about, but also many memories. One of which was our second visit to the annual Karoo Winter Wool Festival. Welcome to Suitcase and Chardonnay, the podcast where style meets storytelling and where we blissfully blend travel, fashion, food, wine, and intentional living. I'm Renate Engelbrecht, your host, and this is a space where you can find inspirational lifestyle tips, explore beautiful local and international destinations, and share slow, luxury moments and the little details that make life feel richer. In this second season, we are leaning even deeper into life's unique experiences. From boutique hotels and family weekend escapes, to thoughtful food and fashion, soulful conversations about wine, creativity, and conservation, and the art of slowing down without losing your sense of adventure. Whether you're listening on a morning walk, planning your next getaway, or simply craving a moment of inspiration, you're in exactly the right place. If you love lifestyle podcasts that celebrate travel, fashion, food, and wine, go ahead and follow or subscribe so you'll never miss an episode. And if something resonates, save it, share it, and let it travel further than we ever could alone. Now, if you're ready, let's go. Today we're stepping into a world where South African heritage meets contemporary design. A world where one of the country's oldest natural fibres, wool, but also other natural fibres, have been reimagined as fashion, art, and decor pieces. Here, the magical Karoo's landscapes, generational traditions, and craftsmanship have been woven into an immersive creative experience. Recorded during the Karoo Winter Wool Festival, which took place on Dwarsvlei Farm between Middelburg and Graafrenet in the Eastern Cape, this episode, featuring Justice Anisha van der Hoven from Hoven Design, explores Wool World Karoo Kraal, an extraordinary exhibition curated by Viviers studio in collaboration with Hoven Design. More than simply showcasing wool, this exhibition invited visitors to experience the natural fibres' remarkable journey, from the sheep that roam the vast Karoo plains to the skilled hands of farmers, shearers, spinners, weavers, designers, and artisans who transform this remarkable fibre into something both timeless and contemporary. If anything, this episode proves why wool is one of the world's most sustainable luxury fibers, how thoughtful design can preserve cultural heritage while pushing creative boundaries, and why supporting local craftsmanship has never been more important. Whether you're passionate about fashion, interiors, sustainability, or simply love discovering the stories behind beautiful things, I think you'll find this conversation both inspiring and thought-provoking. So, pour yourself a glass of wine, settle in, and join me as we discover the artistry, innovation, and heart behind Wool World Karoo Kraal. I am back at the Karoo Winter Wool Festival, and I am with Justice Anisha from Hoven Design. You will remember last year that we had a great conversation, and that was in Joburg. And this year we are actually in the Karoo, and what a wonderful experience to have with you guys again, the Wool World. And this year it's themed Karoo Kraal. Can you tell me what was the inspiration behind this incredible exhibition?
So this year is the second iteration that we're doing Wool World in collaboration with Viviers studio. And, we wanted to do a more spatial representation of Wool World this year. So we came up with the idea of a kraal, and a kraal represents quite a ancient South African and African concept of gathering, togetherness, and community. And so, in the center of the space, we have this stone kraal, which is the heart of the exhibition, and this is where many of the talks and so on are going to happen. And in the rest of the space, we have 4 yurts that have been built out of wool,
Incredible.
and and each of the 4 yurts has a very unique spatial identity based on 4 archetypes that we developed in collaboration with Viviers Studio. And so these personalities and of the archetypes are based on certain design characteristics that we've observed in the wool world. And each one of these characters is quite unique, and we hope that they resonate with different people in the wool community and show different approaches to design in terms of color, form, and composition
Yes.
of the works.
Yeah, yeah. So, for those of you who are not able to see this exhibition, it truly is spectacular in a sense that there are so many elements and so many different artists that you guys brought in here. Can you maybe just highlight a couple of the really impressive and really unique pieces that you've curated for this exhibition?
Sure. I think what's so interesting about the collaboration that we have with Viviers is that we're looking at the intersection of multiple disciplines, design disciplines, whether it's from fashion to architecture to spatial design or even furniture. And what this wool world essentially does is it creates a platform for various participants from all over the country to exhibit their work in wool, mohair, and obviously natural fibre. And I think really what our role is kind of mediating between that and creating the conditions for these intersections to emerge. And there's some beautiful pieces here. I mean, what's been so interesting this year is when we opened the call for submissions, just to see how excited people were to participate in this exhibition and to showcase their work. And so what's always interesting is that tension and this kind of oscillation between, everything kind of like still moving parts and then everything almost exactly as it should be.
Yes,
and that
yeah.
I find so interesting. And I think our role as a mediator in the curatorial process becomes, we take on that particular role
Yes, yeah.
in curating the exhibition.
Yeah.
What was also interesting is because we had so many different participants and we had established artists, emerging artists, makers, artisans, it creates a beautiful kind of backdrop for these pieces to talk to one another and to kind of build relationships between pieces and then of course the overall shed itself. When we're sitting now in the Kraal, I think what is our standout pieces for me are these beautiful felted crystal birch, she calls them ghost hats, because
Okay,
they're
that's what she calls
part of
them.
the process of making when it comes to her making process within her felted wool hats. But what we're exhibiting here today becomes almost sculptural. It becomes a beautiful backdrop. It adds scale to
Yes,
a
yeah,
very
absolutely.
industrial sheep shearing shed. And then behind me, we have something very robust, very practical. It's wool batting from Karoo and Co. And we use this for the first time at the art festival in Cape Town in February. And this also became part of the backdrop and the language that informed the wool yurts that you see that form the spatial identities for this piece. Yeah. So crystal birch, we have behind me to the right, we have one of Layla Atelier's pieces. We showcased her work last year. It's beautiful. It's so wonderful to have new works within the space this year. And it's also wonderful to see how the works from various artists are evolving.
Yes,
And
yeah.
also responsive to an exhibition that is centered and focused around wool, mohair, natural fibre.
Yes, yeah, incredible. No, I think it's really what I have realized from last year until this year is how educational this whole festival and this exhibition is, because many people, I mean, even yesterday with one of the panel discussions, one of the guys also said he's so new to wool, but he wants to learn more, and I think that is the whole idea around all of this, and it's wonderful that we can actually. It's such an immersive experience, your exhibition, because you can touch and you can really sit down on the chairs and everything. And was that the idea behind it? Was that for people to actually really, have that relationship with the items?
Yeah, I think the purpose of Wool World has always been education, and it's been to reflect the opportunity that making with wool presents. There's so many different kinds of artworks, kinds of sculptures, textile works that can be made with wool. And going back to Nisha's reference to the hats, you know, we're here to showcase the process as well. It's not just about the final product. So some of the works, for example, in the nomadic weaver yurt, are unfinished, and that just shows you that there is quite a long and sometimes exhausting process behind every single work. It takes time, it takes an investment and energy to make a lot of these works, but we don't always talk about that, and we don't always show the process. So even this wool in front of us, this is greasy wool which has not been put through any kind of cleaning process yet. So and we're showing the different stages of wool in one part of the exhibition. So you really get a sense of what it takes to convert this fibre from its raw state into something polished and complete.
Yeah.
And another really important work by Noon is that beautiful felted sculpture, and that took hours and hours of hand felting to make. There's no support structure, it's all 100% felted merino wool.
Sure.
Just to add to that work, it was actually very interesting because when we placed it in the shed, we were very sort of precious about where it stood and trying to make sure that people don't sit on it, because it looks like this beautiful, comfortable sculptural piece. But the intention is obviously not to, our thinking was, as curators, that you're not to engage. But when the artist arrived here yesterday, he actually told us he wanted people to sit. So he wanted people to engage, he wanted people to feel that.
Yes, yeah.
And that was so interesting, is because I think often, we're quite precious about artworks, and we see it almost as a gallery. And it reminds me of one of my favorite curators, Hans Ulrich Obrist. And he talks about exhibitions being laboratories rather than showcases. And I love that, because exhibitions are really about research made public.
Yes. Yeah.
And when you do that, when you take it out of the gallery white box setting and you put it into a working sheep shearing shed where people can engage, it's very tactile, it's very immersive, and it's intended to be used and touched and felt, it becomes less about the precious perfection of galleries and becomes more about inquiry, research, education,
absolutely,
and continuous learning. I mean, for us, it's been an education, even just in curating, from last year to this year, and we're still learning, and we're still thinking about wool and mohair, natural fibre in very different ways.
Yeah. On that topic, I mean, last year you guys told me about your curating process, and you said that you had walked in the veld for so many hours and really spent time in the Karoo. What was the process this year?
This year, I think we were a little bit more prepared, because with the second iteration, we understood that there's a structure, the sheep shearing shed, there's a location, which is Dwarfsvlei Farm, and of course there's the material, our wool, mohair, natural fibres. So those were kind of our given parameters. But I think it's always, this process when it comes to curating, it's always about allowing room for curiosity, for unexpected conversations and encounters to emerge and to lead you in different directions. And I think as curators, all three of us are very open to that process. I don't think we come with very fixed ideas. We obviously know the pieces that we're going to receive, but in most instances we haven't actually seen those pieces. So there are always those surprise elements, and I think one has to be open to things changing.
Yes,
And
yeah.
allowing yourself to kind of just move with that and embrace those kind of unexpected surprises or encounters, because that is part of the curatorial process.
Yes, yeah.
What was interesting for us is that we've always, I think even last year, we always wanted to work with the farm, with the shed, with the pieces that were here, because it is such a beautiful backdrop. And it is taking people out of their environments into a very immersive space. So once again, we've used found objects from the farm. So if you move through the various yurts, you'll see there are beds from the Dwarsvlei farm. There's the archaeological kind of finds that we have that are displayed on a table, which is also from the farm itself. So there's pieces that start to kind of create this juxtaposition between old and new, and you start to kind of wonder what is essentially kind of inherently from the farm versus what is a new piece. And I love that blend. I love when there's those sort of questions, because it creates kind of dialogue for people engaging with the pieces themselves.
Yeah, I hear you. And then lastly, I mean, I think everyone knows there's this challenge, and we spoke yesterday about, bringing wool into the shops more and into retail. And I mean, there was conversations held about why do big companies have polyester carpets and stuff instead of wool? How do you see us changing that and making it more accessible for companies and people to actually bring that back into their homes?
So one of the suggestions yesterday that came from the audience panel was that we need more design in the wool space. And I think that's what we are here to represent. There are quite a few challenges in the process of taking wool from its raw state, from the sheep, into a final product. And there are various players and organizations and government that have got different interests that need to align. But I think as designers, we have a duty, a responsibility, and an opportunity to change the way that wool is perceived in the market.
Yeah.
And, wool is sometimes seen as an antiquated thing. It's sometimes seen as itchy and, hard to maintain and, very finicky and as a garment. And I think if we can shift that perspective into something that is giving a different message, that wool is contemporary, it is something that can be used in, modern fashion and modern artworks. I mean, this is a wool garment.
Yeah.
And
Made from Viviers,
yeah.
but the wool batting, the lining, is from Fibres and Co., who do
Yeah.
the batting for us for the yurts that you see and the cladding.
Yeah.
So there's this kind of duality of like the functionality, the practicality, but also elevating it through design products. And I
Yes,
think that's the
absolutely.
role of designers,
Yeah.
is having vision, having, creating from raw material, having the vision to create something new that also elevates the product and hopefully the industry.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I think also like people don't play around with design and with fashion in their homes and with garments. They're scared to play around with it, and I
Yes.
think we need to just be more creative.
And hopefully, I think the different mediums that we've showcased here in the shed helps to kind of get people thinking about these wool, mohair, natural fibers in different ways.
Yeah.
From the woolen lined yurts to the felted floors to wool and fiber paper that's been introduced. So there's so many different ways. It's not just tapestries and rugs. It's artworks, it's weaving, it's fashion. And I think even just the chairs that we're seated on today are from Mango. And these are pieces from their new collection. And they've also brought in an heirloom blanket. And that's the idea, is that you start to kind of create pieces that people cherish.
Yes,
So there's
yeah.
longevity in that. It's not something disposable. It's not something discarded after, a trend or a time. It is a timeless piece, and I
Yeah.
think that's what we're wanting to demonstrate here today.
Absolutely, yeah, yeah. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
And I hope it's a good day. And yeah, good luck with everything.
Thanks again.
As we wrap up today's conversation, I am reminded that some of the most meaningful luxury experiences aren't defined by excess, but by authenticity, craftsmanship, and a deep connection to place. Wool World Karoo Kraal was far more than just an exhibition. It's a celebration of South Africa's wool industry, the remarkable people who sustain it, and the creative visionaries who continue to reinvent its future. It reminds us that every natural fibre carries a story. Stories of the landscape it comes from, the communities it supports, and the generations of skill that bring it to life. I hope today's episode has inspired you to look beyond the finished garment or beautifully designed interior and to appreciate the journey behind every thread. Because when we choose natural fibres, support local makers, and invest in thoughtful design, we're not simply buying products. We're preserving heritage, encouraging innovation, and contributing to a more sustainable future. A heartfelt thank you to the talented teams at Viviers Studio and Hoven Design for sharing their creativity and vision, and to the Karoo Winter Wool Festival for creating a platform where conversations like these can flourish. If you've enjoyed today's episode, I'd love for you to subscribe, leave a comment or a review, and share it with someone who appreciates beautiful design, sustainable fashion, and the incredible stories woven into South Africa's creative landscape. Until next time, keep traveling with curiosity, living intentionally, and discovering the extraordinary stories that surround us every day. If you're a lifestyle, travel, fashion, food, or wine brand looking for a multi-purpose platform to collaborate with in telling your brand's story, please reach out to hello@suitcaseandchardonnay.co.za. Suitcase and Chardonnay is a blog, podcast, and social media company, and under the same brand, I am also a freelance writer who writes numerous articles for various publications. I would love to work with you in telling your brand's story, so feel free to reach out and let's share your story together.